Hello, today is June 17th, 2024, and this is the fourth class in painless music theory for ukuleles. In the third lesson, that was 2 weeks ago, we did a number of things. We reviewed major and minor seconds and thirds, and we also reviewed half steps and whole steps and the definition of those. How many half steps there were in major and minor seconds, how many half steps there were in major and minor thirds. We also learned about perfect fifths. We've also learned to build triads and to distinguish between the theory of major and minor triads and between the sound of major and minor triads. We found out where these triads, major triads and the minor triads, appeared in the C major scale. We talked about chord inversions, and we listened to examples of all of these things that were played on the keyboard. However, we admittedly didn't do too much application of these things to the ukulele. This week, we're going to spend a lot more attention with the ukulele itself and application of these principles that we learned to the ukulele. Okay, Dave, welcome. Have you had any luck in getting the sound to work on your application? The sounds of the in the.
What I've done is I switched computers. I've gone to my wife's laptop, so I don't know yet. We'll see if things come through when you pluck away on the ukulele at your end.
Okay. Well, I'm also going to be using the keyboard. Okay, now, have you done anything with the musictheory.net application, which is the practice on learning all of those intervals and what they sound like and so on?
No, I haven't done the internet on that, but I've been trying to go through chapters 3 and 4 to review all that, and it's still not quite comfortable in my mind yet, but I can understand the theory that's going on there, but it's just remembering each one of the points that they're making there. So it's something I have to review over and over again.
Okay, well, let's see if you can hear this. Can you hear this? Well, wait, let me turn it on. I just went over what we covered in the last class. Okay, here.
Now I can hear that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, good. Okay, well, let's go over, because this was something I was going to do in this class also, sort of as a review, and all of these things that we've been talking about. Now, we talked about whole steps and half steps, and the half step on the piano would be two notes that were right next to each other like this. And a whole step would be where there's a note in between. So if you went up, okay, so going up a half step sounds like this. Going up another half step sounds like this. So, and that's like the beginning of a scale, a whole step. And that whole step consists of two half steps. And that whole step also is what we call a major second. And the reason that that's a second is that if we start on a C, and that's note number 1, and then we go to a D, that's note number 2. So we refer to that as a second. So there are many situations, Dave, in music where we have the same name or maybe 3 or 4 names for the same phenomenon. So a half step is the same as a minor second. A whole step is the same as a major second. Those are synonymous.
Okay.
But we use those numerical intervals because that way we can describe bigger jumps than just a half step or a whole step. So if we go from, let's say, a C to an E, then we're starting on C is note number 1, 2, 3. So from C to an E is a third. Okay. And that consists of 2 whole steps. So C to D is 1 whole step, D to E is another whole step. So that's referred to as a major third, and that is 4 whole steps, the interval from C to E. Now, if we go from C to E flat, so C, D, E flat, that's also a third, but it's a minor third. And the easiest way for me to remember this is a major third sounds on the happy side, and a minor third sounds sadder.
Okay.
Okay, so Dave, you can distinguish between a second and a third because when a second is played together, it sounds very dissonant. So for instance, here's a second. Okay, that's not a very pleasant sound. That's a dissonant sound. That is a major second. That's a whole step there. If you go a half step, oop, now that's really dissonant.
Mhm.
And that's, to me, that's an ugly sound.
Right.
So we can go major and minor seconds. A minor second has got that ugly dissonant sound. A major second, Dave, sounds like chopsticks, like this. Now you've heard chopsticks.
Mhm.
Okay, you've heard chopsticks, okay? Now, that's not a very appealing sound, but it's very useful in music, and that's a major second, whereas the minor second has the, okay? Now, if you want to take notes, it might not be a bad idea because you can use these things on that musictheory.net to test yourself on recognizing major and minor seconds and major and minor thirds. Minor second, ugly sound. Major second sounds like chopsticks.
Okay.
Minor third, sad sound. Major third, happier sound.
Major third's the happier sound.
Correct.
Okay. And then the other is the sad side.
Yeah, right. The minor third is the sad sound.
Minor.
Minor third, correct.
Okay.
Okay, now there's one other interval that we went over last week, and that is what we refer to, and we'll get into the reason for this name, but it's called a perfect fifth. So if you count the notes, Dave, from C, D, E, F, G, and I'll count them on my fingers. Look, C, D, E, F, G. So between C and G, that's a fifth.
Okay.
And a perfect fifth, Dave, sounds like the beginning of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Here's a perfect fifth. So okay, that's a perfect fifth.
Okay.
Okay, and it sounds like the beginning of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Okay.
Okay, now Dave, okay, it's just you and me right now. If there were other students, and they had done, the homework, and do you have that address, that app? Musictheory.net is the name of that. And all you have to do is put that in your browser, and it should pop up.
Okay.
And if you have any trouble, I explained in the first class how to use that, and you might listen to the tapes, the recordings. They are on YouTube. Have you found the recordings, Dave?
Okay.
Of previous 3
I
classes?
haven't found the recordings. No. You mean on YouTube?
Yeah, all 3 of them are on YouTube. I just checked.
Okay. Just what's the title of the ones that are on the YouTube?
Okay.
Just
Do you know how to spell my name? It's
right.
Allan, Roth, Roth.
Okay,
And if you put in my name and music theory for ukulele, they'll
okay.
pop up all. And I'm recording this one too, so this one will also be on the recording.
That's for music theory.
Yeah, music theory for ukulele.
Okay.
So that's where you can listen to the recording. I'm really glad that I think you'll get a lot more out of it being able to hear this. And I'm sorry, I can't figure out what your problem was, but if it's working now, let's not look
Yeah,
again.
right. It's must be
Okay.
one of my settings on my computer, on my laptop that I haven't figured out yet. So go ahead.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I was going to give this as a quiz, but what I'm going to do is do it one at a time, and you and I will discuss what we think it is. Okay, what interval? In other words, our intervals are a second, either major or minor, a third, either major or minor, or a perfect fifth. Okay.
It's still cloudy, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, now tell me what you hear. Here's the first one right here. You ready? Oh, well, I died. Hold on a second. Okay, that's not it. Okay, you ready?
Mhm. I'm just gonna guess that's the first.
No, we're not talking about a first. Uh, it's either a second, a third, or a fifth. A major, minor second, a major, minor third, or a perfect fifth. Remember what we said the perfect fifth was? What tune were you supposed to remember for a perfect fifth?
That I don't know.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now listen. Does that sound like anything familiar?
Not no, not right now.
You recognize that tune?
Twinkle, twinkle. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what interval sounds like the beginning of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Twinkle. Yeah. I'm not hearing it at all. I can't come up with the answer for your question.
Okay. Did you take notes on what I said as far as identifying these intervals? Do you have a pad and paper there to take notes?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. Did we say anything about Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Okay. I don't have that in my notes. No.
Well, put it in your notes. Perfect fifth. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Perfect fit.
Perfect fifth. Yes.
That's twinkle, twinkle.
Right. Now you hear it there, don't you?
Right.
Okay. Now, what do you have down in your notes?
Well, I don't have anything. I'm not making any sense of my notes here, Alan. I'm sorry. I'm not I'm not doing very well here, and I'm
Okay.
afraid I might be wasting your time. I'm
What do you have in your notes? Read your notes to me.
well, I just have musictheory.net that I should be listening to, and major
Okay.
third is a happy sound, minor third is a sad sound,
Okay.
and perfect fifth is twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Okay. And what about seconds, Dave?
I don't have anything on seconds.
Okay. Well, minor second is the ugly dissonant sound.
Minor second is the ugly. Okay,
Okay.
that's what you just played, the minor
Right.
second there.
Right. That's correct.
Okay,
Okay, the major second sounds like the beginning of a scale, or it sounds like the beginning of chopsticks. I mean, that's somewhat dissonant, but it's not nearly as ugly sound as the minor second.
Okay. There's a difference there that I'm not quite hearing, but I can understand. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, and Dave, if you get into musictheory.net, and again, if you have trouble with it, do you have my telephone number?
No, I don't.
Okay, let me give you my phone number. If you have trouble with it, I don't want to take the lesson time to explain that now because other
Right.
people be watching this lesson, and so I want to go over the other things that we want to cover. But if you have a problem using that musictheory.net, you can call me. My phone number is 614
614
252
252
6633.
6633. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And you can leave a message and I'll respond to your message if you get the voicemail. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Now, Dave, so you've got that down in your notes now. Now, if you do musictheory.net, by all means, use your notes. Okay.
Okay.
Because if you use your notes, that'll help you identify what you're listening to. Hopefully, you'll use those notes enough that you'll have memorized these intervals so you don't need the notes. But to start with, use the notes. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now, what chapters in the book would I review before I get into this musictheory.net?
This is not covered in the book. This is covered in
Oh,
this
it's not
lesson.
in the book.
It's not in the
Okay.
book.
Okay.
That book is only sort of a guideline. That book is, unfortunately, that's got a lot of charts that I think are very helpful and that we're going to use throughout my presentation of the class. But I don't present it the way it's presented in the book, and I haven't found any book that presents it the way that I think it is logical to present it, which is first
Okay.
to learn these intervals, and then we turn those intervals into chords, and then we learn how to play those chords on the ukulele. Okay, but you got to start
Okay.
with just like a kid has to learn the alphabet before he can put words together. So the alphabet, our alphabet, is these intervals, and the chords that we're learning are the words that we put together to make songs, to make music, just the way we put letters together to make words and thoughts and so on. Okay, so you see the
Okay.
analogy. Now look at your notes. Okay, now I'm going to play something now. My thing went off. Hold on a second. Here we go. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, now look at your notes. What does that sound like?
That sounds like a major third. Is that a major third? Sounds like a happy sound to me. Oh, you're asking me to identify the song now, or?
Well, yeah. That's
Oh,
your
that's the Twinkle Twinkle one. Yeah,
right, which is what?
that's the major third.
It's what?
Perfect fifth.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
Perfect.
My suggestion is listen to that musictheory.net. Start out with major and minor seconds and just do those major and minor seconds in that and learn to distinguish between a major and minor second. When you get those down, learn to distinguish between a major and minor third. And
Okay.
nothing else sounds like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that we've done so far. So if you hear Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you know that's a perfect fifth. And then practice those. Those will really be helpful to you. Okay. Now what I want to do is talk a little bit now about chords. We did talk about chords before last lesson and building chords and so on. So I want to do a little bit of that now. Okay, I'm going to show you a, first of all, I want to talk about one definition. Now, we talked about triads the last lesson.
Right.
And so I'm going to show you how we build a triad. Okay, here.
Is that the 1, 3, 5 on
Right.
scale?
Yeah, right. Okay. So a triad, like for instance, a triad that we build, this is the key of C. So a triad build on C would consist of starting on a C, and then an E and a G. So in other words, we skip every other note. And
Right.
the interval between a C and an E is a major third.
Right. Or
And
stop,
an
right.
interval between an E and a G is a minor third. So in other words, the C to D, this thing keeps going off. Let me see if I can, here we go. That's a major third. That's between E and G, and if you put them together, that's called a major triad, okay? Major third on the bottom, and those notes are each a third apart. Now, the C chord in the key of C is a major chord. So is the F chord. Okay, so I'll show you the F chord. Okay, so the F chord would be F, A, C. So F to A is a major third, A to C is a minor third. So that's a major triad. And also the triad on G is a major triad. D to B is a major third.
Major.
D is a minor third. So in a major scale, Dave, the first chord, and I'm gonna number these notes in the major scale. If we number them 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the chord on the first note of a scale is a major chord. So that's a major chord. That's C. And in a major scale, the chord on the fourth degree of the major scale is a major chord, A. So that's a major chord, C, F. And the chord on the fifth degree of the major scale is a major chord. Okay.
So 1, 4, and 5.
1, 4, and 5, correct. And a lot of times you hear 1, 4, and 5 in a lot of songs. And there's 10 million songs that only have 3 chords, 1, 4, and 5. So in the key of C, that would be C, F, and G. Okay, now that leaves, so there's 7 notes, and because the C is repeated every octave. So there's 7 notes in the scale. We've identified 3 of them in the major scale as major chords, and 3 of them are minor chords, and those are the chords on 2, 3, and 6. So we said 1, 4, and 5 are major chords, and 2, 3, and 6 are minor chords. So let's take a look at the D chord here. Oh, here, let me erase this. Okay, the D chord is made up of D, F, A. D to F is a minor third. That's got that sad sound. And F to A is a major third. Okay, and just like the major third sounds happier and the minor third sounds sadder, same thing, Dave, with the triads. A major triad sounds happier. Here's a major triad on C. Here's a minor triad on D. D. Okay, you hear that that's a sadder sound?
Yeah, it's a little sour, yeah.
Okay, so on 2, you have a minor triad. So the triad is determined. Major triad has the major third on the bottom. Minor triad has a minor third on the bottom. Okay, so we see that D in the key of C, the second note is D, and the chord built on that note, the triad built on note, is a minor triad. So that's that one. So let's take a look. We said 2, 3, and 6. That's 2. 3, let's take a look at the triad on 3. That would be E, G, B. And I'll play it for you. Okay, that's a sad sounding triad. And the interval from E to G is a minor third. And from G to B is a major third. The minor third is on the bottom, therefore a minor triad. Okay. And we have one more triad, Dave, in the key of C and in any major key that would be a minor triad, and that would be the triad built on the A, on the 6th note of the scale. So if we build the triad there, A, C,
C,
E,
and E.
A to C is a minor third.
And
And
D, C to E,
are third.
major.
Yeah, A to C. And there's that third minor triad. Okay, now you asked for something in the book, and I'm going to show you a chart from the book, and it's on page 35 of the book, and I'm going to punch that up for you. So you can write this down.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay. There's the chart.
Right.
Now you see, I showed you, Dave, how these chords are built. So you don't have to sit down and memorize it. If you know your intervals, you know major and minor thirds, and you can identify the intervals between the notes, then you'll build these yourself. So this chart shows you, and you notice they've got Roman numerals for the numbers. And typically when we're talking about the degrees of a scale, the 7 different notes in a major scale or a minor scale, we use Roman numerals. But you see, we have our major C, and if it doesn't say minor, then you assume it's major. So the major chord is on the 1 C, on the 4 F, and on the 5 G in the key of C major.
1, 4, and 5.
Correct. And the minor chords, Dave, are on 2, 3, and 6. D minor, E minor, and A minor, respectively, right?
Okay, I missed that last part. Now you said
The
the
minor
C
chord,
major triad is on the 1,
4 and 5.
4, 1, 4, and 5. Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
and then
Okay. And
the
the
minor, as you said, was on uh 3, 5, and no, not 6. I'm lost again.
okay, 2, 3, and 6.
2, 3, and 6.
Correct.
Okay. Oh boy, this is a lot for my feeble mind to absorb, Alan.
Okay. Well, again, what I expect the students to do is to, if necessary, either listen to the lesson again or fast forward to the parts that are confusing to you.
Right.
Also, to practice those intervals, learning those intervals, and also practice the things that we're going to talk about on the ukulele. Now, I told you that we were going to show you how to play all these chords in the key of C major on the ukulele, and how you probably now you know the basic. Do you know a C major chord on the uke, an F major chord, Dave? You know a G
Yeah.
major chord? You know those chords?
I know the D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor,
Okay,
B
okay,
diminished. I don't know
okay.
at
Now,
this point.
what
So
don't you know? The B
I don't know
diminished.
the B diminished. That's the one I
Don't
don't
worry
know.
about. Don't worry. Don't worry about it for the time being. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Dave, have you? So, in other words, you know those chords, but do you know where they come from? Why those chords are the way they are in the U? That's what I want to show you now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up another. Now, can you see me while that diagram is up there? Can you see me? You can see me, can't you?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Now, Dave, I'm going to pull up um, a. I'm gonna pull up the letters in the C major scale. Okay. Can you see me now?
Yeah. Yes, I can see you, and I see the letters in the scale.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to ask. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Go. Okay. Good. Because I can't see you, but if you can see me, that's the important thing. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we know, Dave, that the C major chord consists of a C, an E, and a G. Now, they may not be that in that order on the ukulele, but what you
Right.
want to do to play a C major chord is to play a C, an E, and a G. Okay? So
Right.
take a look at the ukulele fretboard. Okay, let me move this. Okay, so here's the fretboard here. Okay, you got a G string here, you got a C string here, an E string, and an A string, correct?
Right.
Okay, the D string, there's the E string right there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And frets. So there's your first fret, second fret, third fret will be all we need. Okay, so you recognize this, correct?
Got that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we want a G on the ukulele. We have an open string, which is a G, so we don't have to push any fret down, do we? We can play that
Right.
G, correct?
Right.
Now, we also want a C, and we've got an open string, which is a C right there, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we also want an E, and we've got an open string, which is an E, correct?
Right.
All righty. Now, this string A, we look at our little chart here, and there's no A in a C major chord, is there?
Right. So we have
So
to play the third fret to get
right,
the C.
and that's a C, correct. And right there is your famous C chord. Okay, that's where
Okay.
the chord comes from. So that's your C, and so all the notes you're playing there are notes in the C major chord. And So that looks like this. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Now, Dave, I want to introduce you to a new term, and that's called the relative minor. Relative, like your relatives, parents and
Right.
kids, uncle. Relative minor, minor. The relative
Okay.
minor. Okay. Now, write down this definition. The relative minor chord of any major chord is the chord built on the note 1/3 below the major chord root.
1/3
Correct. One minor,
below the major.
a minor third below the major chord root.
Okay, I don't know where that's at.
Okay, I'll explain. Now, let's read back what you got written down.
Well, I've got the relative minor, and I copied down your chart that you have here, and I understand from the book and from what you're saying about the three notes that you have listed there, C, E, and G, are played with the C third finger on
Right.
the third fret. But that
Correct.
also can be played with the barring of the first finger on the third fret and the fourth finger on the third string, or the second finger on the fourth fret, and then the fifth with the third finger. So it's a rearrangement of the notes, but it's still a C chord, but it's just in a different position on the neck.
Yeah. In other words, Dave, you're talking about playing a C chord like this. Can you see what I'm doing here?
Yes, you're barring that first.
Right. Correct. That's a C chord
Right.
also. Correct. But
Right.
I'm doing the simplest C chords, and then we can get more complicated later on. Later on, we'll talk about all the different positions you can use to play all these different chords to get different effects and also to be able to play melodies. Okay, but I want to talk about the concept of the relative minor. Now, Dave, I'm going to move the, let me hear it. I'm going to move the notes of the C major chord up the octave here. So what I've got here, let me move this. Okay, C, E, G, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's our C major chord. Now, if you take off the fifth note of that chord, the G, so I erase that, and you go down a minor third. So if we go down a minor third from C, that's A, correct?
F. Right.
Okay, so ACE spells out an A minor chord, doesn't it?
Okay.
You see that?
Right. Minor chord.
If you want to play an A minor chord, A minor is the relative minor chord to a C major chord. So what you want to do is you want to have the notes A, C, E. So there's no G in an A minor chord, but if you play the second fret, you're playing an A, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you want to, you can leave your C there, but you don't need the C because your string number 1 is also an A string. So in other words, you can play an A minor chord either like this. Can you see that?
Okay.
Or
A and C.
Or add the C.
Okay.
So if you want to go from a C major to an A minor, you can leave that C pressed down there. Okay? But the only thing you have to do to go to the relative minor chord is to change that G to an A. Okay, now I'm going to show you that same concept with respect to the other two major chords in the C major scale. So can I erase this now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Dave. Now, the next major chord, what is the next major chord? Is D a major chord in the C scale? No. Is E a major chord in the C scale? No. What about F? Is F a major chord in the C scale?
In the C scale, no. G would
F?
be. G is next, right?
No, it's 1, 4, and 5. Remember, are the major chords, and F is
One,
4.
1, 4, and 5. Oh, which is, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
1, 4, and 5. So we're
Okay. So
talking about the G. Go ahead.
let's build an F chord. Okay. Okay. So F, A, C. So here's our fretboard: G, C, E, A. Here's our strings. Okay. Now, do we have any notes, open strings in the F chord? Well,
No.
we have A and a C, and they're both open strings, aren't they? So we can use those strings, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we have a C open string, and we'll have an A open string. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Now we got to do something with the G. Now, obviously, we can't lower the G to an F unless we retune the uke, which we'd rather not do. But we can play an A on that G string, and that would be up here, wouldn't it? An A on the G string,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's A. And then on the E string, we can play an F. And an F would be a half a step above the E, so the F would be right here, correct?
Okay, that's right.
And there is our F major chord. And that's where the F major chord comes from. So you play the A and C as an open string, and you play an F and an F on the E string, and you play an A on the G string. And you recognize that good old fashioned F chord right there, correct? You see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, just like we built the relative minor chord of the C by taking the fifth and erasing it and adding a note, a minor third below the root chord, we can do the same thing with the F chord. Notice, I'm going to erase, because we want a D minor chord here, because D minor is the relative minor of F major. See? So here, there's the D, which is a minor third down from F, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so we erase the C, and so the notes of our D minor chord are D, F, and A. So let's look at our major chord, the F chord, and so we see there's an A in a D minor chord, isn't there?
Yes.
But there's no C in a D minor chord, is there?
No.
Correct. So we have to not play a C there. So I'm going to take off but we want to play a D. And how do we get to a D on the C chord? We go up to the second.
It's the second fret.
Right. So here is, okay. And so there is your D. So you have A, D. Now you've already got your F on the E string, correct?
Correct.
And the A string is the open string, and you've got an A in there. So in other words, there is your classic D minor fingering right there.
Okay.
And so you very easily go from F to the relative minor, D minor. You see that? You only have to change one note. You see?
Okay, that's
Okay.
D minor. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the reason I'm showing you this thing is that if you know those three major chords, you can use the concept of the relative minor in order to generate the three minor chords in any major scale, which are the 2 chord, the 3 chord, and the 6 chord. So now we've done F major and D minor. And so now we can go to G. So can I erase this now?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so now G major is the next major chord.
1, 3, and 5. Okay,
Yeah, the G would be the root of the G major chord, and then a major
right.
third is a B, and a minor third up is a D. Okay, so let's build that on the uke. Okay, G, well, that's convenient. C,
So that's right. That's open.
E, yeah, right. Okay, so
Okay.
G, D, E, A. So that's open. Okay, let's put our frets on. Okay, now C. What are we going to do with a C? We don't have any C, but we do have a D in the G chord. So the D would be up here, correct?
Let's see. C. Yes.
D. Okay, and we don't have an E, but we do have a we do have a G in the G chord. So let's see, E, F, F sharp, G. This would be a G, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the A, we don't have an A, but we have a B, and that would be a whole step up from the open note. And right there is your G major chord, right?
That's the
This is
last one. That's the B, right?
the B, exactly.
Okay.
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 Okay. And here's the B. I mean the G major chord.
The G major. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Now, Dave, what would the relative minor chord to a G major chord be? The chord
Oh
of minor,
boy.
what would it be?
So this is where I get confused. Now it's just we have to
Go
instead of
down.
1, 3, 5, we do 1, 3, and 4.
Okay, what you do is you go down. Now, the root of the G major chord is the G, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay, so you go down a third, a minor third below the root of the chord that you want the relative minor of. So what note is a minor third below G?
What's a third? A third. See, I'm confused on the third. The E. I'm taking a guess now.
Well, okay, it is the E. In other words, when you're counting intervals, you count the note you're starting at is your first note. G is 1, F is 2, E is 3. That's a third. Now the question is it a minor third? And yes, it is in the key of C major. So you're correct. So in other words, we're going to erase the D because there's no D in an E minor chord, and we're going to use the E minor as the root of the E minor chord. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's see how we can build an E minor chord from the G major chord. Okay. So we want an E, a G, and a B, correct?
E, G, and a B. Okay.
Okay. Do we have a
So,
B
so we have a
in
G open on the fourth string.
okay, we got the G taken care of, and that's still open. Okay, I agree.
Okay.
Now we can't use this D here, can we, on the C string?
No.
Okay, so let's get rid of that D. Let me put that fret back in. Let's see, where are we here? A. Oh wait, okay. Here we go. And here is our C string. So we got the G on the C string. We want to play. So we have C, D. We want to play an E on the C string, correct?
On E on the second string, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, actually, that would be the third string. If you count, A would be string number 1, E would be 2, C would be 3. So we don't want to play the G. We want to play a let's see. This G we want to keep here. So we're going to keep this G, but I'm going to erase it because it's confusing us. I'm going to write G over here. I'm taking nuts. I'm erasing all my stuff. Okay, so we're good with the G and the D. On the C string, we want to play an E. So C, D, C. This would be D. This would be E.
Oh, D is on the 4th fret. C,
Okay,
D.
we're going to play an E on the C string.
Oh, that's the E.
Okay, because on the E string, Dave, we're playing another G here. See, we're playing a G
Right.
on the E string. Okay.
Okay.
And so right there is your classic E minor chord.
This
right
is
here.
a G minor now?
E minor.
E minor.
Yeah, E minor. E as in
Okay.
Edward. E minor.
Okay.
Okay, so, and you probably have seen this before. To go from a G major to an E minor, you can just put your pinky up there and get to an E minor. You see? So all you have to do is change that one note.
Right.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So what we've done now is to show you what the derivation is of all these chords that you, and do you play the E minor typically in that configuration that I've got up on the board there?
Yes.
Is that the way, the E minor? Okay. So you see that we built all those chords in the key of C major, right?
These are all in C major.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to go through again, if we could,
Go ahead.
on you're using your lines to show, like on this last chord, E, F, and G. So
Yeah.
on a major chord, it's 1, 4, and 5 position.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
the minor chord, it's 2, 4, and 6. Is that
No, 2, 3, and 6.
2, 3, and 6?
Right. Right.
Okay.
And you got that chart, Dave, on page 35. And there's another chart, although I don't want to confuse you at this point, but he's got a chart with all of the typical ukulele chords, keys that are usually used. It's the key of C, key of G, D, A, E, F, B flat. Those are the typical chords. And he's got all the major and minor chords in each of those major scales.
Okay.
That's in the book somewhere. I'm not sure what page that's on, but
Yeah,
that's just. But you
I
probably
remember seeing that.
Okay. Now I want to show you one other thing before we go, and we may not have time to cover this fully, but I want to cover. Can I erase this now?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to close this. Okay. Now, Dave, you know that the only thing we've done in this class so far has been the key of C major, correct?
Okay.
Well, there are really 12 major keys and 12 minor keys in the music system. So all we've done is talk about C major, but I want to show you how to build another key, another scale. Now, when you talk about different keys, what you're talking about is the tonal center of a piece. In other words, the chords that sort of surround that piece. And, sometimes you're playing C chords and F chords and G chords. Sometimes you're playing F chords, B flat chords, and C chords. Sometimes you're playing G chords, C chords and D chords. And so that's different keys when you use those different sets of chords. Okay.
All right.
And so anytime that you build a scale starting on another note, what you do is you have all the notes, the musical notes in that scale. So let's say we're going to build a scale on D major. Okay. We're going to build a major scale on a D. Now I'm going to show you the letters in a D major scale. And
Okay.
these are going to be particularly surprising because you've seen these before. Oh no, this is the wrong one. Sorry. Let me get it again. Okay, now Dave, you see this here?
Got it.
Okay, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Those are the names of the notes in a D major scale.
Okay.
And you got all 8 notes going from D to the D an octave higher. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Dave, do you remember what we said about the half steps and whole steps in a major scale? Start,
Yes.
whole. You remember that? Okay.
Right.
Can you tell me what that is?
Should be 2 steps, half step, 3 steps,
Start.
and then a half step. But now in this case here, this is where I get confused on that definition, because we go D to E, that's 1 step, but E to F is a half step. Correct?
Right. Now I'm going to show you how this works. So it's start, 2 whole steps, start, whole step, half step, then 3 whole steps, 1, 2, 3, and a half step. Correct?
Right.
Okay. Now, if I'm going to write those in on this diagram right here, and you're going to see how you build a scale from any note to any other note an octave higher. So you're going to go start, whole step, half step, right?
See,
Whole
that's
step.
where I'm confused. I always thought E and F was a half step and B and C is a half step.
You're right. You're right. But stick with me, okay?
Okay.
Write down those letters, D through D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Write them down.
Okay. This is a whole step. E and F is a whole step. F and G is a half step. And then G and A is a whole step.
Now wait a second. Dave, you're not defining the intervals between those notes on the piano or those notes in a C scale. What you're doing is any major scale has got these intervals between each of the 8 notes of the scale. That's what you're doing. Start, whole step, half step, whole step. Then you need a whole step and another whole step and a half step. And if you've got those intervals between the notes, then you've got a major scale starting on D. Now, follow me along, Dave. You start on a D. Is there a whole step between a D and an E?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a whole, and you answered this for me before, is there a whole step between an E and an F?
Well, in this case, excuse me, you're showing a whole step, but from what I remember before, it's a half step.
You're right. So what note, Dave, if F is not a whole step above E, what note is a whole step above E? F. What do you have to do to F to make it a whole step?
It'd be G, would be G flat.
Well, yeah, but you have to have an F. What are you going to do to the F to make it a whole away from E?
So that'd be an F sharp.
Bingo. F sharp. Yes. Okay. You see how you do that?
Uh-huh.
So write the sharp in there. Okay.
Okay.
Now, between an F sharp and a G, you want a half step. Is that a half step?
Yes,
Okay, between a G and an A, you want a whole step. Is that a whole step?
that's a whole step.
Between an A and a B, you want a whole step. Is that a
That's
whole
a,
step?
that's a whole step.
Between a B and a C, you want a whole step. Is that a whole step?
Well, we want a whole step, but it's to get, now we gotta, all right, now I'm getting confused here.
No, you're not. You
We-
know what to do. B to C is not a whole step, but what are you going to do to the C to make that a
oh,
whole
to
step?
make it a whole step, we have to go C sharp then.
Bingo. C sharp. D. Dave, you have just built the D major scale. Okay, and
Okay,
I'm gonna play that for you on the keyboard because right now we let's see. Okay, here we go. D, E, F sharp, G. Let me make that louder. I'm sorry. That's too quiet.
Battery 90%. Connected to iPhone 3.
Here we go. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. I'm sorry, A, B, C sharp, D. You just built
okay,
a D major scale. You
okay.
see how that works? So
Yes,
you
it's
know
just-
on the piano where the half steps and the whole steps are. That's always going to be the case in music. But you got to change that so that the notes, you got to have all 7 notes in the scale, but you change the notes so that you get the interval that you need in order to build the scale. Okay, so what you can do is play around with that with other keys. Start on a G maybe and see what you do with a G. Start on an
right,
A and see what you do with an A and see how you build those scales. Because what we're going to do next week is take these scales that we've built and then apply those to the ukulele and the chords that we do on the ukulele to build these chords in other keys. And that's the way that you build that's the theory that goes behind the building of those chords. Okay.
okay. All right,
Okay.
I'll give that a shot. I've
Okay.
been messing around with that a little bit on my own, but
Mhm.
this makes it a little clearer. So, and I'll try
Okay.
and review your lessons that you say on YouTube.
Yeah, by all means do that. And if you got any questions, you got my phone number. Give me a call. Hey, listen,
Okay,
I'm glad we're together on your hearing this now. It does help it, doesn't it? I mean, I if you can't hear the intervals, then it really doesn't make the point.
right,
Oh,
right.
well, listen, thank you for joining me. I'm glad that we've done this together, and I hope this helps. And like I said, if
Okay,
you have any question about any of the lessons, give me a buzz. We'll talk about
okay.
it.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate your efforts.
Well, my pleasure. I'm glad you stuck with me, and I'm glad you got a computer that's working for you too. Thank you.
Okay, good. Take care. Stay
You too.
well.
Right. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.